Welcome to the ultimate guide to warrior swordsmen in Age of Empires Mobile for 2026, where I will be going over all of the Season 1 to Season 7 heroes that you're gonna need to transition from, and that is for the free-to-play players and the spenders, for the primary commanders, and even the different supports that you're gonna need in the game, including for rally and garrison purposes too. So you should have all the information that you're gonna need for those warrior swordsmen, and that is going to include the gems, the mounts, and the adornments that you're going to need for all of these formations, with full breakdowns and infographics of the formations, skills, rings, and my rankings of the obtainability, viability, and longevity of each of these formations that we're going to be breaking down for you in this ultimate guide. So smash like, comment, and subscribe. Let's dive into today's video, and again, begin the journey where I do need to point a big disclaimer. No King Arthur will be in today's video. He will be getting an exclusive guide on him and his formations in the future for those players that can obtain him. Today, we're going to be focused mainly on either the Miyamoto or the Yodi setups. This is because these two heroes are much more accessible for players, and the thing is, they are providing two different play styles in the game. The thing is, when it comes to your Miyamoto, his damage output through his signature skill is allowing another hero within the formation to actually have a chance of firing their skill again. So when you read this, it has an instance of 390% damage, with a 50% chance to let the hero with the highest might, excluded himself, to cast a signature active skill. This is also increased by 30%. So it's a very powerful effect to do maximum amount of damage and go for a more damage orientated build. The thing is, with Yodi, she also does damage, but it is in a different way. The more she triggers off her signature skill, she's going to add stacks of deterrence to herself. With each stack, she's increasing her main might by 30 points, and this goes up to 40 stacks, with a 10% chance to also enter the damage immunity phase. So as you can see, Yoda is all about dealing damage and scaling longer within a fight by adding stacks of deterrence to herself. And she can actually do this really easily as well as the main commander, because her commander skill does do 3 instances of damage to 3 enemy troops. But guess what? You also get to add these stacks of deterrence and consume them to change the damage output of your commander skill. So she is actually a beast out there in the open field. The thing is, Miyamoto is only able to be obtained through VIP. So you need to get VIP 1 and all the way up to, I believe, VIP 8 in order to maximize this hero as fast as and efficiently through that store. Yodi is all on the legendary advent wheel, so that does mean anyone in Age of Empires Mobile can unlock this hero and start working towards her as your main 5-star commander if you choose to go down, again, warrior swordsman lineup. With these two, you're gonna need some supports and obviously other commanders to fit up that formation. This is where Mehmed, Tribuana, as well as Constantine are all gonna be used. And the thing is, when it comes to our boy Mehmed, he is going to be obtained through the legendary advent wheel in Season 3, and he is an all-star for warrior swordsman in one particular role and one particular role only, and that is because he is a fantastic support in rallies and garrison combat. His main skill is a turn-based skill, which just triggers every 6 seconds, and this is going to reduce damage that you can take, as well as increasing the amount of damage you can deal. The cool thing about this skill is both of those can happen at the same time. So in certain scenarios, you will have 25% damage reduction and be dealing 30% extra as well. And in rallies, this is a very viable strategy that you could be using instead of obviously having a Tribuana in that main slot, which is what we are mainly going to be using in the early game. And this is because when we look at our Tribuana, all of her skills are all about increasing the chance of our main commander to do his skill. So when we read hers, increase the activation chance of your commander's skill by a certain percent, and you also recover units when your commander uses a signature active skill every 3 times. So every 3 times the Miyamoto goes off, you're going to recover units with your Tribuana. And the cool thing about this, when you enter battle as well, she's going to give you an additional extra percent for 12 seconds on your signature active skill. So she really does try her hardest to make your Yoda or try to make your Miyamoto to activate as many skills as possible. And when it comes to her other skills, she does have some really good options for supports, stuff as King's Blade, Righteous Judgment, and Bloodthirst, depending on which legendary concoction you like to go down, as well as even Fortification as a really good epic all-star that just increases all of your heroes' armor output by 110, which is a really cool stat, because when it comes to her recovery rate, obviously this is all might, and the more might you have, obviously the more skilling you have, but the more armor you gain, the more damage you don't receive. When it comes to your main attributes, armor is the main one that increases your defense against might-based users. So it helps you become even more tankier than you already are as a hero. Constantine is the final support that we need to talk about. The thing is with Constantine, I would recommend him for more of the higher spenders in the game. And you can be running a Miyamoto, Tribuana, and Constantine March for a very long time. And I mean that until you find the main heroes that you need, that we're going to discuss later on in the video. The thing is, Constantine will be replaceable. And that's one thing that I need to be honest with you. He will be replaced. But he is, in the early game, realistically unmatched in recovery and damage reduction. Anytime your Miyamoto starts to fire off his skills, guess what? You're reducing the amount of damage you take and you're recovering units. When it comes to his other skills, you have Peaceful Healing, which is also reducing damage that you take, and you have access to High Spirit to make his main active skill go off more on that signature. Or if you feel like you are getting your signature off enough, you can actually just use the Tenacity build and just heal as much as possible. Again, more in rally scenarios. Really, really good kind of setup for them. So as you can see, when it comes to the 3 different supports here, we have some really good options in the early game. One for rallies and garrisons that anyone can pick up if they want to go down that route. But if you don't, no one will shout at you. I will be honest with you. But we have Tribuana, which is an all-star for our heroes to activate off. And then we've got Constantine, which is a healer for more of the VIP heroes. So now we've kind of understood that. Which route are you going to go? Are you going to go down the Miyamoto route? Or are you going to go down the Yodit route? The thing is, no matter what route you go down, the very first match that you're going to get access to is one match free-to-play players will use for their main formation. This is going to be Josephine Hammurabi with King Derek. You're going to run the skills Double Attack Sunder with the Ring of the Lion, then High Spirit Earth Crush on Hammurabi with Tranquil Water, and then Righteous Judgment Earth Crush again with Ring of the Deer on that King Derek. The reason why we're going for these skills is all about route. The more route that we can place, our King Derek has higher chances of making the enemy take more might damage, which means our Josephine and Hammurabi can actually deal some okay damage in the early game. This is a perfectly fine PvE March, but don't expect top results in PvP. That's why the viability is only a 6, because it will get absolutely dominated out there in the open field. The one cool thing, though, that we need to mention about this March, and why even the spenders right now need to listen up, is because this is going to be your main siege March. In the game, you can run siege heroes, and these are the only 3 currently in the game with siege skills. And what this does is allow you to kill trebuchets, war machines, cities, flags, any sort of building in the game within Mightiest Empire and the Desolate Desert events, and it is an absolute monster at doing it. And your alliance and your era will be very thankful when you're able to siege down the enemy's machines or get into the capital city quicker than the enemy. So when it comes to the Josephine, Hammurabi, and King Derek March, just remember, this is a PvP match, which can be switched to a siege match, and being the only siege match in the game, it instantly becomes a 10-10-10 compared to being a 10-6-10 in the ratings, because we're not using it for PvP, we're using it for one specific job, which can do really, really well. Now we can understand that. Let's break down the unit marches for all of the free-to-play and lower spenders that want to go for a formation that is all about using that damage immunity, and obviously is completely accessible through legendary advent wheels only. So in season 1 and season 2, that's when your march actually starts off. Yoda is through the legendary advent wheel in season 2. Season 1 is your Tribuana season wheel. Then King Derek is going to be, again, the Giant Raw event 5-star hero. This is going to be a very fine starter team. Your Yoda will do exceptional damage for what she has around her, while the Tribuana is honestly pulling in as much of the legwork into supporting this march. The longevity and the viability does be a rank 7. That is just because, again, Tribuana will be replaced in the long term, but King Derek is going to be replaced in season 5, which is going to be the next upgrade for this march. When it comes to the rings, what I want to really pay attention to right now is that I have gone for a double epic and legendary setup. I do think you can run this for all of the free-to-play players and low spenders that want a very budget-friendly ring setup. However, if you want to go for the more best in-slot builds, I also have that on showcase next for you guys. So when we go into the next seasons, we have a Lagertha unlock. This is in the season 5 legendary advent wheel for your heroes. She again is completely free-to-play friendly to unlock, but as you'll notice down at the bottom now, we have some ring changes. We have the Effulgent Sun and the Divine Warrior, and this is honestly a super free-to-play friendly max budget ring build. This is giving you the maximum damage through the Effulgent Sun. The Signet Ring of the Divine Warrior in the center is going to boost your Yoda and the Lagertha, and the Tranquil Water is going to keep you tanky enough to actually fight people a little bit stronger than you, which allows you to punch up in fights. What makes this match absolutely fantastic is the fact that your Yoda there is wanting to stack, obviously, more deterrence. Your Lagertha, as you guys know, is going to be able to enter the Judgment State and deal multiple damage to the enemy by ignoring the defense and recovering. This is absolutely fantastic when you think about what a hero is all about, and you get access to this all in season 5. When it comes to your Lagertha's skills, you're going to be running Raging Bloodline and High Spirit. This is because your Raging Bloodline skill is going to help enhance your output again by Lagertha. Every 3 times you use that signature active skill, you increase the might of your hero with the highest might by 33.5, as well as increasing the damage by 6.7%, and you reduce your critical strike damage taken by 20%. Meaning against the pesky Lubus that's going to be running around, your Lagertha actually lets you tank against them, and at the same time, she boosts up your main hero, which is going to be your Yoda in the, obviously, attribute department, and at the same time, she's dealing damage, ignoring defense, recovering troops, and allowing Yoda to trigger her skill an additional time. Lagertha is an absolute all-star, as you've guessed it, as a Season 5 hero, and I need to make this clear, if you're running Warrior Swordsman, she is a must-have. She is so goddamn good that she is going to stay in your team now, even in the future with the next setup, which is going to be your Yoda, Lagertha, and Scipio. Scipio is a absolute monster, and that is no understatement for this support hero. What he provides is absolutely second to none, and he allows your Warrior Swordsman to start getting extra damage where you didn't think damage was able to come from. He heals your units, which is quite nice, with the recovery at the very bottom when you kind of trigger your signature active skills. But what makes him an absolute all-star is the fact that you're entering the Conquest State, and during the Conquest State, your commander's signature active skill can deal critical strike damage, and it can have a 20% increase on its critical strike rate. So as you can see there, all of your damage now from your Yodit here is amplified absolutely exponentially. And the fact that you're getting this amplification in damage for your Yodit, and you've got a judgment from your Lagertha being able to activate multiple instances of Yodit, you've guessed it now, you've got really good stat coverage, you've got really good damage coverage, you can get potentially 2 seconds even of damage immunity within a turn with the Yodit and Lagertha, and now with the Scipio, you have the critical chance to be an absolute monster. So when it comes to this lineup, the 4 skills are going to be Battle Roar Executor for Yodit, Raging Blood, High Spirit Lagertha, One-Man Army, Righteous Judgment, Scipio. The rings here, again, are late game rings, and I don't expect you to get these instantly. However, if you want to go for these legendaries from the get-go, you can. Just expect a slow upgrade process, because obviously this is a triple legendary ring, so you're going to need a lot of fine gold in order to do this. And when it comes to doing these as a more free-to-play or low spender, I'd recommend starting off with my double epic build first, working on that Tranquil Water that's in there, get it to level 30, and once you do, you can then buy maybe a second legendary ring to start working to level 30, and then replacing one of the other rings in the formation, and do it one at a time. That's going to make it a lot more easier and bearable for you guys to get in the long run. So now we've gone over that, let's go over the big boys, the Miyamotos. And the Miyamotos have a very similar path than what we've just seen with the Yodit. The difference is we're going to obviously run Miyamoto as our primary unit, and we don't need to run King Derek here at all, apart from in the very first season, just because you don't have access to Yodit. So in the second season, you're going to be running Miyamoto, Tribuana, and Yodit. The skills for Miyamoto is going to be High Spirit and Furious Charge to increase his activation chance and give him as much might as possible to again deal as much damage. When it comes to the rings, I'm going to recommend Effulgent Sun on your Miyamoto, Divine Warrior on your Tribuana. That's going to boost up your Yodits and the Miyamoto's damage. And when it comes to the third ring, you can actually change this for a multitude of different rings, but I'm going to suggest Celestial Spark, which also increases your Yodits and Miyamoto's damage output, while also giving you a 10% damage reduction. This is very expensive, as you've guessed it, because you need double 4,000 rings for the Divine Warrior and the Celestial Spark, while also needing the Effulgent Sun. But these are some absolute game-breaking rings that you can combine together to make this setup work. In Season 5, you're going to be doing the exact same as before. Instead, it's going to be Miyamoto, Tribuana, and Lagertha in this setup with the same rings. And then, as you've guessed it, in Season 6, as you get the hero, Scipio, you're going to be putting in the lineup. And this is where I want to give you guys a really big tip and trick for all of the Warrior Swordsmen here, and players in general watching today's video, just wanting a little bit of formation insight on these heroes. Because if you've noticed very carefully, when it came to all of the formations in the early phase, Tribuana was in the center slot, while Lagertha was in the third slot. This is because we want Tribuana's skills to actually activate sooner in order to help Yodit go off. This is the exact same thing when it comes into the Miyamoto and later on. When we get Scipio, this changes things. And this is because in game, when you check out your Scipio skills, he has a passive based skill. This just means it's always active, and as long as the condition has been met, it just triggers off. So what's the benefit of doing this is it allows you to run your Miyamoto, that is a signature skill hero, in the first slot, which you want to do so you can get access to his commander skill, but you also get to run your Lagertha now in the second slot, because remember, with active based skills, your hero has a time to activate them each time they take an action. That action is all about turn order. So if you can go turn 1, turn 2, you're fantastic, because then if your combo ever goes off between the Miyamoto and your Lagertha, it's going to start ping-ponging again, and obviously have super high uptime on the damage for your march. So this is why when you look at all of the other formations, Scipio is in the 3rd slot and not in the 2nd slot, because this does outperform all of the others. So now we have gone through all of that. Let me just break down all of the formations in a summary, and we will then break into rings, mounts, adornments, and gems to finish up today's ultimate guide, so you have all the information that you're going to need in order to excel in the open field and as well in the rallies. So with that, let's go into the early game. For 3 2-player players, you're going to be running Josephine, Hammurabi, and King Derek in Season 1, with the ambitions later on to upgrade this into your Siege March to help out your team. Your main PvP transitions is going to be Season 2 with Yodi, Tribuana, and King Derek as your main lineup, which is what you're going to use until Season 5, until you get Lagertha in this lineup, and then Scipio. For the free-to-play players, I would recommend 5-starring your Yodi. Your Tribuana can be 3 stars, and your King Derek would be 5 stars through the Giants Raw event. When it comes to this next lineup, I would 5-star again your Yodi, 3-star Tribuana, and 3-star to 5-star if you're able to push it for your Lagertha. When it comes to the final one, your Yodi will obviously be 5-starred, hopefully by now, but going for a 5-star Scipio is an absolute powerhouse of a move, and even keeping a 3-star Lagertha is perfectly fine, but this will be your main lineup that I would recommend that you would aim to try and 5-star all 3 heroes. Now, for the spenders, you're going to be running Miyamoto, Tribuana, and Yodi in Season 2, with the reminder that you're still going to be using the Josephine, Hammurabi, and King Derek Siege March whenever you need a Siege March out there in the open field. However, your PvP March will be Miyamoto, Tribuana, and Yodi in Season 1 and Season 2. This will again trans up into your Lagertha in Season 5 through the Legendary Advent Wheel, and then finally Scipio Africanus for your formation that you finish up with, and again doing as much damage as possible with all 5-star heroes. So now we have gone through all of that information, and like I said, it's only right to go over the signet rings, gems, and basically all the nitty-gritty stuff that you're going to need for these marches. So when it comes to your signet rings, again, I kind of explained a lot of these. In the early game, for a lot of the free-to-play players, Tranquil Water is just an absolute all-star. Some people would recommend Ring of the Falcon, which you could use as well as a really good budget option as a triple epic ring setup for more free-to-play and budget-friendly builds. However, just remember with the Ring of the Falcon, you're not going to get too much benefit out of the healing effect. Yes, Scipio can heal some damage, but he doesn't heal an absolute ton. His main job is to enter the conquest state and increase that critical strike rate, so just be wary of that. Another ring that you can use is technically Ring of the Badger. This is another optional ring for certain players if you get that Lagertha online and you feel that their Lubus are still giving you a little bit of a problem. Ring of the Badger plus that Lagertha actually reduces a truck ton of secondary strike skill damage taken, and the critical strike together with the troop damage reduction is a really cool trifecta of a combo. So this is a really good option that you could also potentially use as a budget-friendly triple epic ring setup. Now, for the bigger spenders in the game, Tranquil Water, I would say, is more of a mandatory ring that you could be using on your lineups. But Celestial Spark is fantastic. You increase the might damage dealt by your 2 heroes with the highest might, and in these lineups, Miyamoto and Lagertha are always the ones with the highest might, which is fantastic. It always gets a guaranteed force on them, and what's good about this is you can equip it to the Lagertha and you're not losing anything. You're getting a 10% damage reduction as well. This is at max level, which you can check out the skills upgrades for this in game. For all this information is available in game too. While I will talk about it, the Divine Warrior, right? Absolute fantastic ring that I do feel is a mandatory ring for a warrior swordsman, especially if you're a free-to-play player and you do just have epic rings and you're looking for that big powerhouse legendary ring. This is the one, because this is reducing your secondary strike skill damage. We don't care about secondary strike skill damage because we're using active skills, and the fact that we get to do that is we increasing our other two heroes in the troop by 18.92% on their damage. That is insane, right? All of our heroes are just getting more and more damage, as well as getting a small bit of activation chance with this ring. So you're boosting Miyamoto, you're boosting Lagertha, you're boosting technically that Yodit, as well as the Lagertha in there. So this is why it's such a very powerful ring in this lineup. Effulgent Sun, again, people are using because of the skill damage, troop attack, as well as the troop defense. Really good, just kind of stats that you could be putting onto your march. There is obviously the brand new rings, as you can see here, but there's no real rings that really work with the Warrior Swordsman. The ones that you would want to look at is stuff like Sage of Judgment. This is troop skill damage reduction, and every 6 seconds is recovering and reducing damage taken. So this is a fantastic ring, again, that you could be using in the early game as well as in rallies if you want to, for this specific reasoning. Skyward Knight is an honorable mention. This is a ring some people like to use because it does increase your commander's damage output and their activation chance, which helps your Miyamoto go off more often. The thing is, when you put the Skyward Knight in your team, you will start to realize that you won't be able to really fit in the Divine Warrior. So you normally pick one or the other. And the one for me, and what I would recommend you guys, is Divine Warrior being the best signet ring to equip on your marches. Now, when it comes to the mounts, it's actually quite simple. Anytime you look for any mount on here, you're going to be looking for Overpower, right? Overpower is the #1 skill for your Miyamoto, your Yodit, as well as your Lagertha if you're able to pull them. Overpower is increasing the amount of active skill damage that you can deal. You can see I don't have one, unfortunately, so I'm not able to show it. However, if you do not own a Overpower, the second best option to actually pick is Armyy Sunder. This is actually increasing all types of damage by 9%. So you are losing a little bit of a tiny percent, but guess what? It covers you anyway, no matter what. This is a universal skill that you can put on your horses and help your troops. If you are looking for a second trait option, you're going to be looking for stuff like reducing your secondary strike skill damage taken, or traits like Bedrock, which reduce all damage taken. And that's going to be, again, for your Miyamotos, Yodits, and those Lagerthas out there. When it comes to your Scipio and even your Tribuana, running Peacemaker as well as running Lifesaver are really good options for your traits. What these two traits do is all about reducing the amount of damage that you take. And the thing is, even though our Scipio and our Tribuana do recover units, but they don't recover an insane amount, we can still use that to our advantage, because no matter what, as long as we trigger a recovery effect, we get 4.8% extra damage reduction for 3 seconds, which allows you to, again, absorb a whole damage cycle turn from the enemy, which is very, very powerful. So when it comes to all of these traits, I would recommend that. When it comes to your adornments, there is quite a few different adornments that you could be aiming to obtain in game. Make sure when it comes to your Miyamoto, Lagertha, and Yodit, you craft Swift Blades. This is because you want to generate as much attack, health, and more importantly, you want to increase their skill damage output, which is what they are intended to do. Now, when it comes to the special effects, Blazing Edge is really good in certain scenarios for that Miyamoto, but what I would recommend for most players, which is actually a really cool one, is Wavebreaker. Whenever the mounted hero activates their signature active skill, you increase your might by 5 points at max level, and it stacks up to 3 times. And when it's fully stacked, you also increase your skill activation damage output by 12%. That is super good, and it will work anywhere that you need it, which is fantastic. It is just a way to stack up and get more damage. It's not relying on itself to activate to do damage itself, which is what that Blaze and Edge is going to do. When it comes to your other heroes, your Tribuana and your Scipio, for example, these heroes are all about supporting. So you're going to want the Mystic Mirror on these heroes, so you get the Swordsman defense, Swordsman health, and the troop damage taken reduction. So again, they're not dealing damage, so the best thing they can do is reduce the amount of damage that we've got. Then it comes to your special effects, and I would recommend Natural Selection as the number one. This adornment works very similar to Mehmed's skill, where each of these different effects can actually be applied at the same time, which is a very powerful effect of increasing your damage output by your commander or reducing your damage taken, which is fantastic either way that you go. If you can't get that natural selection, the next best choice that you can run is resistance. And the thing is, even in the future, if you're trying to run Swift Blades and you don't find, for example, Wave Breakers, you can also get a resistance here, and you're able to actually triple stack your resistance adornments on your mounts until you find a Wave Breaker and a natural selection to run those free in a combination for your free heroes there that we've talked about. So now we've gone over those adornments. The last thing to talk about is obviously your gems that you're going to be needing to equip to your heroes, right? So when it comes to your gem slots, your helmet is obviously in charge of main stats, and I would recommend going for stuff like your unit health for your main stat. Main health is never bad. The more health that you have, the more damage that your units can take and kind of scale from in the later game when you're recovering those same units back. The more health, better. If you can't get unit health, go for unit capacity to scale up your troops' damage output, and overall your troop capacity is just good having up, right? For your hands, this is going to be might. So when it comes to your braces, you're going to be looking for the main stat attribute of might. This is going to be for every single hero that you equip. And if you are starting to see any issues, for an example, where other heroes with the Divine Warrior are higher than others. So a good example is maybe your Scipio had might higher than your Lagertha. To get around this, equip might gems to Lagertha, but for your Scipio, just do all attributes. It's still going to give him what he needs, but it's going to be at a lower rate, which is going to help your Lagertha hopefully be higher than him when she is used out there. For your chest piece, you're going to be using active skill damage gems. These are going to be used for your Miyamotos, your Yodits, as well as your Lagerthas, because they're all in charge of dealing damage. And when it comes to your Tribuana, as well as your Scipio, you can choose to go down either Hero Recovery Effect, just to try and help them do something in that department, or if you want to, Troop Normal Attack is perfectly fine. Just increasing the amount of normal attack damage that you deal from your troop because of those gems is perfectly reasonable too, to help try and kill the enemies. When it comes to your legs, as you've probably guessed it, you just put in one gem of what I've talked about in one of the respective slots that you're going to need. And that is it. That is all that you're going to need to know for the signet rings, for your mounts, for your adornments, and for your gems for your gear. And at the same time, we have talked about all of the different heroes that you can get for supports, as well as the garrisons. Your main two commanders, that is going to be obviously for the pay-to-wins and the free-to-play players, depending on your budget level within the game. And we've discussed all of the different formations that you're going to be running in-game that is allowing you to progress from Season 1 to Season 5 to obviously Season 6 and beyond with the Warrior Swordsman Miyamoto March. So, with all of that said, If you guys have got any questions to do with the Warrior Swordsman, put it down below in the comment section below, and I'm going to be happy to help you guys out. And just remember, if it's your first time here, check out the links down below. You can download Age of Empires Mobile right now. We are all playing together, and you can come join the community. So if you enjoyed the video, smash like, comment, and subscribe. Till the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky, peace out.